Alright everyone, welcome back to Brigandine. Today we're going to be talking about the class ups of the High Dog through the Fenrir. So before we get started, please make sure you smash that like button and subscribe. Also, it does help the channel grow, does help with the algorithms and all that sort of stuff. But let's go ahead and talk about the High Dog and why it's a good mutt, why it's a good monster for your team. So like we just talked about the High Centaur, the High Dog or the Hellhound or the Fenrir, whatever it classes up to, whatever you wish to call it. I call it all kinds of things all the time. Sometimes I call it a hot dog or a kielbasa, just for fun on my stream. So if you ever hear me say that, you know what I'm referring to. It's this fun, it's this fun animal right here. And I love dogs myself, but here's the thing. We're going to be looking at a lot of different things about this and why it's a good monster to use in the game Brigandine, Legend of Runersia. You can also use it in the previous games as well, and some of the names are a little different, but for the most part, it usually ends up as a Fenrir. So, what do they have going for them? Well, you can see there's not a lot of MP going on here, so that's not that good. Not a lot of intelligence either, so it's kind of like the Centaur in a way. It gains hit points and agility, not as much agility as a Centaur, I think, but maybe a little bit more strength here. So what we're going to be looking at here is that agility is 60, so this one's a pretty good summon here. Mobility is 6, so it's actually very far moving. What does the Hellhound have that other monsters don't? Well, this one already comes with a double movement, so you can attack and move away. So whatever its movement mobility is, you can use up the whole value of that. If you've only moved 3 spaces and you attack, you have the option moving 3 spaces away if there is a place to go to. So that's one great thing about this monster in particular. Now, growth rate is actually faster than the Centaur or the High Centaur. You can see right here, growth rate of S. Now we'll have to look through the other class changes to see if this changes as well, but for the most part, starting off with a Hellhound, you get a kill or 2, you're going to level up much quicker than you are as a High Centaur. Magic cost is 35 for this monster here, and upkeep is 12, and summon is 120, almost the same thing as a High Centaur that we just kind of covered here, right? So let's look at skills and magic. Does it have any of that? Alright, so for the first part, no, it does not. It just has Killer Bite, which is a power value of 100. It's not elemental though, so there's no orb attached to it. Range of 1, a little stronger than the Centaur we just covered and just talked about. But as far as monsters are going, as far as they're concerned, this is one of the squishier monsters of the types. The only good thing is that it can get out in the front line, it can cover a leader a lot quicker than some other monsters can. Just the mobility itself is really what helps you get there, because you have the option of basically double movement. Or to say this maybe a little more correctly in an English term would probably be complete movement. So you can actually complete all the mobility that you have. So you can attack and then move away. It's not double action like the Lizard Lord has, where you actually get to do 2 moves in 1 turn. Or if you would consider playing monster chess, you'd be like the king. You can move twice in a turn. But that's pretty much all there is for the High Dog. Let's go look at some of the higher levels of it and see what that's all about. So let's back out here real quick. I've got all my good stuff up here. This is my best file with Rudo, and after you conquer the continent, you can essentially do these little quests here where the little lighted areas are as much as you want and max out whatever you want, which is why I maxed out Rudo here. So Rudo's basically maxed out with all the potions you can give him, and that's how you can play the game. Some people don't even know this. They just think that you get a time limit and you're done. They really don't know this. But let's look at the dogs here. As you can see, I've got 999 attack with him. But let's look at the dogs here. So this is the next incarnation here. You can see there's some little blue dots here, but this means that this monster is a mana miracle, which means it's a little bit better than a normal summoned monster, and you can only get that from the basic summon state itself. You can't make it a miracle later on. It's unfortunate, but all right. So let's look at the stats here as far as this is concerned, and you're going to see that it still has a double movement. It has also an ability of evasion up C, so it's actually a little more evasive because of this evasion. So increases evasion by 10% on top of your agility. And now that will be placed upon on top of your agility with these two things right here, okay? So that means that you can evade a little bit more than a high centaur can. Great. You know, the only difference is that this thing is like a frontline attacker, so you are always attacking and possibly getting counterattacked. Whereas a centaur might not be getting counterattacked, okay? Defense is 120. That's a big improvement. That's like 20 points higher, right? Mobility is still 6. Doesn't change much. Growth rate went from S to A, so that did go down to A value. Magic cost is 50. Upkeep is 49, so the upkeep actually drastically went up, as you can see. And you know, MP and HP, these values can be up and down a little bit here and there. It's hard to be 100% accurate as to what they're going to be, but this is a little bit better than usual because we do have a mana miracle here, of course. And yeah, so a little bit better with some other stuff here. Let's look at some skills. We'll see what kind of skills it has. So we have the Hell Bite, which is power value is a little bit better, +9 accuracy. That's great. That's cool. Yes, it can get countered. Doesn't cost any MP. But what do we have here? Let's look at this. The next attack that this evolution gets is a Fire Burst attack. Now this is a pre-move, so this means that you have to wait. You basically have to wait a turn to do it. So beginning turn of your next turn, if you're standing next to a monster that's an enemy, you can do this Fire Burst. It's a lower power value because it wouldn't be fair if you made this just the same as the normal attack, you know. That wouldn't really be fair, would it? And the element is fire because we have like a Hellhound, right? So, and it's a value of 2. So as you can see here, you are starting here and you are shooting out 2 spaces with a breath attack, okay? This affects both ground and sky. That's why these are stars. This has no counter to it, and it does cost 50 MP. Okay, so that's what you get with an upgraded High Dog, right? Okay, let's look at the profile here. A High Dog's new form following a class change, incredibly tenacious. They will chase their foes to hell and back. They are also capable of using a breath attack, making them useful over a wider area. Now infused with red type energy. They are weak to blue type attacks. Okay, now the rest of this that's written in blue says has a chance of transforming. Now the translation for this isn't perfect. What it should say, honestly, transformed into a mana miracle form immediately after being summoned. So right now it's basically telling you this has transformed, not has a chance of transforming, because it is a mana miracle right now. And so they will glow like a pale glow color if they have transformed into it. So you'll see on the battlefield they'll look a little bit different than the other ones because they'll be glowing a little bit different in color here. But this is essentially the Hellhound class right here. So that's what you get with that. And that is once you get to level 10. Once you get to level 10, you can class this up into this. You just have to have enough magic cost within your armies, within your leader's capability to be able to put this on the team and fit it in there. Okay, so let's look at the 3rd tier class, the final class up. Let's look at the final class up here, and what we have here is a Fenrir. So let's see, the defense pretty much stays about the same, but we are getting extra mobility. We went from 6 to 7, so this is like a heck of a boon right there. And we can use all that, you know, all that movement. The double movement is still there. So what other goodies do we have here? We've got, evasion up B. So we actually go from 10 to 15% extra evasion on top added to our agility. This ties into agility down here. Agility, if you want to know how Brigandine games play, essentially agility is one of the greatest stats personally for me, I believe. It helps you with evasion and it helps you with hitting. Works both ways. But if you have to compare it to someone else's agility, if you got more agility than they do, likely by about 5 points or so, very good chance you will almost 100% hit, and there is a chance that they will miss you. But if we lock the evasion stat into the agility stat, it basically means you're an evasion tank, essentially. So these little things that are kind of squishy, kind of like flankers initially, can turn into full-up frontline evasion tanks. Now, they do have certain magic properties that doesn't make them very good against certain things. So if there's angels, they do have black orb defense, so they can get pretty much taken down pretty easily because intelligence, as we see, is very, very low. So holy words, divine rays, magic that could even possibly be blue is going to be very, very bad for them. They can die very fast to those kinds of things. But you can see that the magic cost went from 50 to 70, and look at the mana upkeep. Oh my gosh, mana upkeep is so much higher than the magic cost, 160. And the growth rate went down to B. So they actually kind of slow down growing in their level 20s to level 30s. But they can evade a lot, they can attack a lot, they can away a lot. You know, all these things are really, really good things. Plus the hit point valve is now in the 600s, which is great. But as you can see here, like I said, agility 124 for this thing, and this thing isn't even a mana miracle. That's why I love using Fenrirs. They're evasion tanks. So if you're really big about evasion tanks, try to make a whole army of these guys. You're gonna love it. I've tried it. It's a lot of fun. It's hard. Sometimes it's hard to get them to survive from the start, but once you get them going, it's so much fun. So what's the difference here? Now our power score for our usual attack, normal attack, is up to 130 plus 12 accuracy. And as you saw before with the info here, I'll just backtrack real fast. Plus 15 evasion plus 15 evasion plus 12 accuracy. You got to be kidding me. That is awesome. They do have a strong rate for counterattack here, but we get a couple interesting things here. And I thought for a while that it really didn't matter, but it does actually matter sometimes depending upon what you're going to fight. Instead of just going straight up to Dark Inferno and just having Dark Inferno and canceling the Infernal Breath, you have two options here. You can do Inferno Breath with double red attack, or you can do Dark Inferno with a double purple orb or black elemental attack. They both cost the same thing, so it's like, well, what's the difference? Who gives a, who cares? This one is 105. This one is 110. What's the difference here? Dark Inferno is slightly stronger, so for the most part, you're going to want to use Dark Inferno. You don't get a lot of MP to do a lot of stuff anyways, but if your target is green, then you probably want to do the Inferno Breath because this is double red, beating down the green defense, right? Or if your enemy is white element, like Unicorn, Angel, Paladin, whatever, then you want to go with Dark Inferno. So it gives you an option to choose one or the other. Pretty much, if it doesn't matter, you don't even know, you're not really looking that hardcore, just go with the Dark Inferno because it's 5 more points better with the power value. I would have to say that, but if you're going to take down a Mandrake, make sure you use these red orbs here because this does include this red orb on top of your attack, okay? So that's what I'm trying to say with that. All right. I hope I explained that well. These both attack ground and sky 100% to, actually 3 range this time. This is 3 range. So you can see you're getting 3 ranged attacks. Sometimes if you have to breath through your own guys to do it, and you don't hurt yourself, but you can get the win, that's something I would recommend. But you can see that these are both 3 ranged attacks here. And so let's go on and let's look at... But but before we do that, 60 MP, right? Just to note that, 60 MP. You have 100 MP. For the most part, for my playthroughs and playing through this game, you get 1 breath attack, maybe 2 if you get them high enough, but even with this, level 30, I only have 100 MP, so unless you find a way to give him gear that gives him more MP, you're mostly going to be doing 1 or 2 breath attacks, and that's about it. But you can do a breath attack as a pre-move and move away, unlike the previous game. Unlike the previous Grand Edition and Legend of Runersia. So you can breath attack and away. You still get to use your double movement with the pre-move breath attack, okay? Alright, let's look at profile here. Hellhound's new form following his class change. Considered an omen of the end of days, they only fight alongside the greatest of knights. They are capable of using both red and black type breath attacks, making them useful against a wider range of enemies. They are good at evading attacks, but have relatively low HP. So, that's the Fenrir right there. And that's all there is to it. I hope this was helpful. I hope it wasn't confusing at all. It's pretty much just an evasion tank. It's mostly a flanker to start, but once you get into the Fenrir class, definitely you can kind of use them as tanks in the front. You just have to put a loop heal on them, a protect spell, or make sure you have some healers nearby if they do get hit, because when they do get hit, you're going to notice some HP being, missing. But like I said, definitely smash the like and subscribe. Help the channel grow. Please help that, and I will keep bringing more of these videos and other Brigandine content and other game content as well. I'm trying to diversify a little bit into some other things too. So that's all I've got for you. Next video up might be the Lizard Lord or the Lizard Guard through Lizard Lord class. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, take care. Have a good day.